The orbital station hung above Centauri Prime like a crown of steel and glass. Inside its largest chamber, representatives from 200 worlds gathered in a semicircle of seats that rose toward the domed ceiling. This was the Galactic Council, and today they had summoned humanity to receive new orders. Ambassador Hyan walked through the massive doors with Admiral Taiyang on his left and Chief Diplomat Mai Rei on his right. Their footsteps echoed in the vast space. Around them, aliens of every imaginable form shifted in their seats. Some watched with curiosity, others with indifference. None watched with respect. Hyan had been doing this job for 12 years. He knew exactly how these meetings would go. The Council would demand something. Humanity would ask for fair compensation, and the Council would act surprised that humans expected payment for their service. Then humanity would comply anyway, because that was what they always did. But today felt different. Somehow. Speaker Vorthal rose from his central platform. The crystalline being caught the light from 100 different angles, creating rainbow patterns on the walls. His voice resonated through the chamber with a sound like bells. We acknowledge the human delegation. You have been summoned to receive the terms of your next assignment. Not a request. Not a negotiation. An assignment. Hyan folded his hands and waited. Taiyang stood perfectly still beside him, her military bearing evident in every line of her posture. Mai Rei pulled up a holographic display, ready to take notes. Vorthal continued. The Velkari expansion war has entered its 3rd year. The Velkari people have requested assistance from the Council. We are assigning 2 million human soldiers to their cause. Additionally, humanity will provide tactical support, medical personnel, and engineering corps. 2 million soldiers. Hyan did the math quickly. That was roughly 40% of Earth's total military force. For a war that had nothing to do with humanity. Furthermore, Vorthal said, humanity will share all specifications for your newly developed quantum jump drive technology with the Council database. This technology will be made available to all member species without restriction. Marie's fingers froze over her holographic display. That technology had taken humanity 15 years to develop. It represented billions of credits in research costs. And they wanted it handed over freely. Finally, Vorthal concluded, the Council has determined that human trade activities require greater oversight. A 40% administrative tax will be applied to all human commercial vessels using Council-maintained trade routes. These funds will support the greater galactic community. The chamber fell silent. Hyan could hear his own heartbeat in his ears. Around the room, alien representatives settled back in their seats, satisfied. This was normal to them. This was how things worked. Hyan raised his hand. May I speak? Vorthal's crystalline form seemed to brighten slightly. The human delegation may address the Council. Thank you, Speaker. Hyan kept his voice level and calm. I have one question regarding these terms. What does humanity receive in return for these contributions? The silence that followed was different now. Confused, several alien delegates turned to each other, making sounds that their translation devices struggled to interpret. One of the insectoid representatives clicked its mandibles in what might have been laughter. Vorthal tilted his massive head. I do not understand the question. You have requested 2 million soldiers, advanced technology, and significant tax revenue, Hyan explained. I am asking what compensation or benefit humanity will receive for providing these things. Compensation? Vorthal's voice carried a note of genuine puzzlement. Benefit? These are the responsibilities of galactic citizenship. Every species contributes according to their abilities. And every species receives according to their needs? Hyan asked. Of course not, said Representative Quelm, a being that resembled a floating sphere of liquid metal. Resources are allocated based on council votes and strategic importance. Surely you understand this. Hyan did understand. He understood perfectly. Humanity had been part of the Galactic Council for 300 years. In that time, they had fought in 27 wars that didn't involve Earth. They had built infrastructure on 60 worlds. They had cured diseases, designed ships, trained soldiers, taught skills, and shared knowledge. All of it freely given. All of it taken for granted. And in return, humanity had received exactly nothing except the privilege of continuing to serve. Taiyang shifted slightly beside him. Haiyan knew what that meant. The Admiral was getting angry. Myray had stopped taking notes entirely. She was staring at the council with an expression Haiyan had never seen on her face before. "Speaker Vorthal," Haiyan said slowly, "let me be certain I understand. You want 2 million human soldiers to fight in a war that poses no threat to Earth. You want our most advanced technology given away freely. And you want 40% of our trade income. In exchange, we receive nothing except the continued honor of being exploited by this council." The word hung in the air like a sword. Exploited. Vorthal's light dimmed. "Ambassador Haiyan, your tone is inappropriate. This is the price of galactic citizenship. All species must contribute. Do all species contribute equally?" Taiyang asked suddenly. Her voice cut through the chamber like a blade. "How many Valkyrie soldiers are fighting in their own war? How much technology has Quome's species shared? What percentage of trade income do the Centauri pay in taxes?" No one answered. "That's what I thought," Taiyang said. Haiyan reached down and gathered the documents Myray had been working on. He closed her holographic display with a gesture. Then he straightened and looked directly at Speaker Vorthal. 300 years ago, humanity joined this council in good faith. We believed in cooperation between species. We believed in building something better together. We gave everything we had to that vision. He paused. Around the chamber, some of the alien representatives were leaning forward now. Something in Haiyan's voice had changed. But cooperation requires mutual respect. Partnership requires fairness. And what you have described today is not cooperation. It is servitude. Humanity did not come to the stars to be your servants. "Ambassador Haiyan," Vorthal said, and now there was warning in his voice. "You are dangerously close to violating council protocol." "Then let me violate it clearly," Haiyan replied. He turned to face the entire council, making eye contact with as many representatives as possible. "If the price of galactic citizenship is the surrender of our dignity, our autonomy, and our rights, then humanity respectfully withdraws its citizenship from this council." The chamber erupted. Aliens were standing, shouting, their translation devices creating a cacophony of sound. Vorthal's form blazed with light as he called for order. Haiyan turned to Taiyang and Myray. "We are leaving." "Finally," Taiyang muttered. They walked toward the doors. Behind them, Vorthal's voice boomed across the chamber. "Ambassador, you cannot simply leave. Your obligations." Haiyan stopped and looked back over his shoulder. "We have no obligations to those who do not respect us. Goodbye, Speaker." The doors closed behind them with a sound like thunder. Outside, in the corridor, Myray let out a breath she didn't know she'd been holding. "They're going to think it's a negotiating tactic. Let them think whatever they want," Haiyan said. He pulled out his communicator and connected to Earth's unified government. "This is Ambassador Haiyan. Authorization code Tango 7 Romeo. I am issuing a code Exodus. All human personnel are to return to Sol System immediately. No exceptions." The voice on the other end hesitated. "Sir, are you certain?" "Completely certain," Haiyan said. "Humanity is coming home." As they walked toward their shuttle, Taiyang smiled for the first time in months. "You know they're going to panic when they realize we're serious." "Yes," Haiyan agreed. "They will." The galaxy had taken humanity for granted for 3 centuries. Now they were about to learn what the galaxy looked like without human hands holding it together. And somewhere deep down, Hyen thought they deserved exactly what was coming. Commander Jiwan stood on the bridge of the Terran battleship, indomitable, and watched the Velkari homeworld grow smaller in the viewing screen. Around her, the bridge crew worked in focused silence, preparing the ship for the jump back to Sol System. Behind them, 300 human vessels followed in tight formation. "Commander," said her communications officer, "the Velkari High Command is requesting an urgent meeting. They say it's critical." "Tell them I'm busy," Jiwan replied without looking away from the screen. This was the 4th request in 2 hours. The Velkari generals couldn't seem to understand that she wasn't negotiating. Her orders were clear. Bring every human ship, every human soldier, every piece of human equipment back to Earth. She was following those orders to the letter. "They're insisting, ma'am. General Throck himself is calling." Jiwan sighed. "Put him through." The screen shifted to show General Throck, a massive reptilian being whose scales were decorated with military honors. His eyes showed something Jiwan had never seen in them before. "Fear. Commander Jiwan, please. You must reconsider. We are losing ground on 4 fronts. Without your tactical support, we cannot hold the enemy back." "I understand your situation, General," Jiwan said calmly. "But my orders are to return to Sol System. I will be following those orders." "But the war is not Earth's war," Jiwan interrupted. "It never was. You asked the Council for help. The Council assigned human forces without consulting us. That arrangement is now over." Throke's claws gripped his command chair. "We will pay you. Name your price. Credits, resources, territory." "General, this isn't about payment. Though I notice you only thought to offer it now that we're leaving." Jiwan leaned forward slightly. "For 2 years, human soldiers have been dying in your war. We developed the strategies that won your victories. We trained your forces. We gave you everything we had. And in return, you gave us orders. Not gratitude. Not respect. Just more orders. Commander, please. I wish you luck, General. You're going to need it." Jiwan cut the connection. On the other side of the galaxy, Dr. Soman walked through the corridors of Quarsh Medical Station for the last time. She had spent 8 years here, developing cross-species disease prevention protocols that had saved countless lives. The white walls were familiar to her now. She knew every department, every lab, every office. But she was leaving. "Dr. Soman." A Quarsh physician came running toward her, his 4 arms waving frantically. "Please, you cannot go. The Council has authorized triple your current salary. We can offer you full citizenship, a seat on the medical board." "Dr. Velen, we've been through this," Soman said gently. She continued walking, pulling a small case behind her. "My decision is final. But your work, the early warning system you built, no one else understands it. If another plague comes, then you'll have to figure it out yourselves." Soman stopped and turned to face him. "I wrote detailed documentation. I trained your entire staff. I gave you everything you need. But I'm done being the only one responsible for keeping the galaxy healthy. We need you," Velen said quietly. "You need to learn to do this work yourselves," Soman corrected. "That's what I've been trying to teach you for 8 years. But you never bothered to truly learn, because you always assumed I would be here to fix things." She softened her tone. "I'm not doing this to hurt you, Velen, but I have to go. My home is calling me back." The shuttle waited at the docking bay. Soman didn't look back as she boarded. Earth was 3 weeks away, and for the first time in years, she felt like she was heading in the right direction. On Nexus Prime, Merchant Captain Daiho oversaw the dismantling of his trading company's headquarters. The building had been a hub of commerce for 15 years, connecting human goods with markets across dozens of worlds. Now it stood empty, except for the packing crews. His business partner, a being called Mrex, who resembled a walking fungus colony, watched in disbelief. "This is insane, Dao. We made 4 billion credits last quarter." 4 billion. And you're just walking away? Yes, Dao said simply. Why? Give me one good reason. Daihao stopped directing the workers and looked at Mrex. They had been partners for a decade. They had built this company together for nothing. But Mrex would never understand. "I'm tired of being rich among people who don't respect me," Dao said. "I'd rather be poor among family." "Respect? I respect you. You're the best trader in the sector. You respect my skills, Mrex. You respect my profit margins. But do you respect me as an equal?" Daiho shook his head. "You've never once asked my opinion on council policy. You've never invited me to your family gatherings. In 10 years, you've never treated me as anything more than a useful business associate." Rex's fungal body rippled. "That's just how things are in the galaxy. Then the galaxy can function without me." Daiho turned back to his work. "My ship leaves in 2 hours. I need to finish here." The news spread across the galaxy like wildfire. Humanity was leaving. Not just from one world or one sector, but from everywhere. Every human colony on mixed-species planets began evacuation procedures. Every human working for alien corporations submitted resignations. Every human scientist, soldier, doctor, engineer, teacher, and trader started packing. The Galactic Council convened an emergency session. Speaker Vorthal addressed the assembled representatives. "This is clearly a negotiating tactic. Humanity is attempting to leverage better terms through dramatic gestures. Have you received any communication from Ambassador Haiyan?" asked Representative Kwang. "Several," Vorthal admitted. "All identical. He simply states that humanity is withdrawing from galactic society and wishes us well." "What are his demands?" "He has made none. That's what makes this so unusual." A nervous rustle went through the chamber. An elderly representative from the Tharsis Collective spoke up. "What if this isn't a negotiation? What if they're actually leaving?" "Impossible," Vorthal said firmly. "Humanity has too much invested in galactic society. They have colonies, businesses, relationships. They won't abandon all of that." But they were. 3 weeks into the exodus, the first signs of trouble appeared. The Velkari front collapsed entirely. Without human tactical support, their armies broke apart. Enemy forces advanced on 3 core worlds. Refugees fled by the millions. At Nexus Prime, trade ground to a halt. The routes through neutral space had always been operated by human traders who knew how to navigate the dangerous territories. With them gone, no one else was willing to take the risk. On Korish Medical Station, a minor outbreak turned into a crisis when the early warning system failed. No one had realized that Dr. Soman personally checked the monitors every 6 hours. The automated system had never been truly automatic. The council convened again. "We need to contact Haiyan," said Kwang. "Offer concessions. Reduce the tax rate. Provide compensation for military service. Send an official delegation to Sol System," suggested another representative. "Show them we're willing to negotiate seriously." Vorthal hesitated. His pride warred with practicality. Finally, he nodded. "Very well. I will lead the delegation personally. We will offer humanity better terms and bring them back to the council." The delegation arrived at Sol System's edge 1 week later. They sent hailing signals on every frequency. They broadcast diplomatic credentials. They waited. What they received was a single automated defense platform that powered up its weapons array and played a recorded message. Ambassador Haiyan's voice was calm and professional. "You have entered Sol System space. This territory is now closed to non-human traffic. You are not welcome here. Please depart immediately. You have 30 seconds to comply." Speaker Vorthel stared at the platform. "This is outrageous. We are here on a diplomatic mission. 20 seconds. We simply wish to negotiate. 10 seconds. Weapons systems activating." The delegation turned and fled as their ships jumped away. Vorthel caught a glimpse through long-range scanners of what lay deeper in the Sol system. Massive construction projects orbited every planet. New ships being built by the dozens. Space stations blooming like flowers around Mars and Jupiter. Humanity wasn't struggling in isolation. They were thriving, and they had locked the galaxy out. Back on Earth, Ambassador Hyan received the report of the delegation's retreat. He allowed himself a small smile. "How long before they panic?" "They're already panicking," Myray said, reviewing the intelligence feeds. "The Velkari are begging for help. Trade is collapsing. The medical systems are failing. And we've only been gone for a month." "Good," Hyan said. "Let them feel it. Let them understand what they've lost. And if they don't learn?" Taiyang asked. Hyan looked out the window at Earth's skyline. "Then we stay home. Forever." The galaxy watched the humans disappear behind their borders. And for the first time in 300 years, the galaxy felt truly alone. 6 months after humanity withdrew, the galaxy was falling apart. On Mars, Engineer Kyung sat in her apartment, watching the news feeds with a cup of coffee in her hand. The holographic display showed the Centauri ring, the massive orbital construction project she had managed for 7 years. Or rather, it showed what was left of it. The structure had collapsed 3 days ago. Kyung watched the footage of debris falling through Centauri Prime's atmosphere. Pieces of the ring burned up like meteors, creating streaks of light across the alien sky. The death toll was rising by the hour. Current estimates put it at over 14,000. Her replacement, a Centauri engineer named Vex, appeared on screen giving an interview. His translator made his chittering sound almost apologetic. "We followed the construction protocols exactly as written. We don't understand what went wrong." Kyung took a sip of her coffee. She understood what went wrong. The protocols weren't just instructions to follow. They required understanding the underlying principles. They required knowing when to deviate from the plan because conditions had changed. They required experience and judgment. Vex had treated the protocols like a recipe. Add this, attach that, weld here. He had never understood that engineering was as much art as science. She had tried to explain it in her handover documents. She had spent 2 weeks going over everything before she left. But Vex and the Centauri Council had been impatient. They assumed that building things was simple. Just follow the blueprint, and everything works. Now 14,000 people were dead because they had learned otherwise. Kyung changed the channel. The next feed showed the Velkari expansion war. The conflict had spread to 7 sectors now. What started as a territorial dispute had exploded into a full-scale galactic war. The Macron Empire had seen weakness and launched their own invasions. Smaller powers were choosing sides or being conquered. Refugee ships filled every screen. Millions of beings fleeing war zones with nowhere to go. The Council had set up emergency camps, but they were overwhelmed. Disease was spreading through the camps faster than anyone could control it, which brought Kyung to the next news item. The Quarish plague had mutated. Dr. Soman sat in her laboratory on Earth's moon. Luna, watching the same reports. The plague had started as a minor outbreak on Quarish Medical Station, the same station where she had worked for 8 years. It should have been contained easily, but the early warning system had failed. By the time anyone noticed the outbreak, it had already spread to nearby stations. Then to ships. Then to other worlds. Now, was on 47 planets. Dr. Soman? Her assistant, a young researcher named Hannah, appeared at the lab door. The Quarish Council is calling again. I'm not taking their calls, Soman said, without looking up from her microscope. They're offering full access to their research facilities. Unlimited funding, a permanent seat on their high council. Not interested. Hannah hesitated. Doctor, people are dying. Millions of people. Soman finally looked up. Her eyes were tired but hard. Yes, they are. And that's terrible. But it's not my responsibility anymore. How can you say that? You're the galaxy's leading expert on cross-species disease prevention. I was, Soman corrected. I was the expert while I was working for them. I tried to teach them what I knew. I wrote documentation. I created training programs. I begged them to take the work seriously. Do you know what they did? Hannah shook her head. They assigned one junior researcher to study my methods. One, because they assumed I would always be there to handle the real problems. They didn't value the knowledge. They valued having me available to solve their problems for them. Soman turned back to her microscope. I'm working on a vaccine now. For humans. Because that's who I'm responsible for. If the Quarish want to stop their plague, they have the documentation I left behind. They have the training I provided. They have everything they need. What they don't have is the willingness to do the hard work themselves. They don't know how, Hannah said quietly. Then they should learn quickly. People are dying, as you said. Soman's voice was cold. Maybe that will motivate them. The economic collapse was the slowest disaster, but in many ways the most devastating. Director Hannah, who oversaw Earth's Bureau of Galactic Affairs, reviewed the daily intelligence reports. The galactic trade system was in free fall. Without human traders willing to navigate the dangerous neutral zones, the major trade routes had simply stopped functioning. Some alien species had tried to take over the routes. Most had been attacked by pirates or hostile forces. A few had made it through, but charged such high fees that the trade became unprofitable. Within 3 months, 12 minor governments had collapsed due to economic failure. 3 major trade alliances had dissolved into bitter accusations and recriminations. They're desperate, reported intelligence officer Yuna, standing before Hannah's desk. We're seeing attempted cyber attacks on our systems. Espionage attempts. 2 alien species have tried to reverse engineer our quantum jump drive using salvaged parts. Any success? None. Both attempts resulted in catastrophic failures. One destroyed an entire research station. Hannah nodded slowly. That was the secret no one had understood. Human technology wasn't just about having better tools or smarter engineers. It was about a completely different approach to problem solving. Humans thought in terms of systems and connections. They saw patterns that other species missed. They took risks that others considered impossible. You couldn't reverse engineer human innovation because innovation wasn't in the machines. It was in the thinking. What about the council communications? Hannah asked. 347 messages in the last week alone, Yuna said. All increasingly desperate. They're offering concessions now. Reduced taxes, actual payment for services, representation in council votes. Not interested, Hannah said. Ma'am, with respect, some of these offers are quite substantial. They're essentially giving us everything we asked for 6 months ago. 6 months ago, we would have accepted, Hannah agreed. But that was before we realized something important. We don't need them at all. She pulled up a holographic display showing Sol Systems' economic data. Look at this. Our economy has grown by 23% since we withdrew. Why? Because we're not paying 40% taxes on our trade. Because we're not giving away our technology for free. Because we're not spending resources on their wars. Yuna studied the numbers. But what about our colonies on mixed species worlds? We lost those. We had 17 colonies on alien worlds, Hana said. And we have 63 colonies in Sol System and nearby neutral space. We gave up minor outposts to focus on our real home. It's the best decision we ever made. The communications console beeped. Another message from the Galactic Council. Hana didn't even open it. She deleted it and moved on to the next item on her agenda. Speaker Vorthal stood alone in his private chamber, staring at the star charts. Red markers showed war zones. Yellow markers showed economic collapse regions. Purple markers showed plague outbreaks. The map was drowning in colors. His assistant entered quietly. Speaker, the casualty reports from the Centauri ring collapse are final. 14,312 dead. Vorthal said nothing. The Valkyrie have lost another core world. The Mekron Empire is demanding 3 sectors surrender unconditionally. The Korish plague has spread to 51 planets now. And we've received word that the Tharsis Collective is considering withdrawing from the Council entirely. Still, Vorthal remained silent. Speaker, we need humanity back. The galaxy is dying without them. I know, Vorthal finally said. His voice sounded hollow. I know. Then what do we do? I don't know. Vorthal turned away from the star charts. We've sent them everything. Apologies, concessions, offers of payment, and power and respect. They won't even respond to our messages anymore. They're watching us suffer, the assistant said bitterly. No, Vorthal said. They're just not watching us at all. That's worse. He remembered the long-range scans of Sol System from 6 months ago. The construction projects. The new ships. The thriving colonies. Humanity wasn't punishing the galaxy. They simply didn't care about the galaxy anymore. For 300 years, Vorthal and the Council had assumed humanity needed them. Needed access to galactic society, galactic markets, galactic opportunities. They had treated humans as subordinates because they believed humans had no other choice. But humans always had a choice. And they had finally made it. Keep sending messages, Vorthal instructed. Every day. Make it clear we acknowledge our mistakes. Make it clear we're willing to change. And if they never respond? Vorthal looked at the star charts again. At the galaxy falling apart. Then we face the consequences of what we've done. Across the galaxy, species that had once taken humanity for granted now whispered in fear. Fear of war without human soldiers. Fear of plague without human doctors. Fear of economic collapse without human traders. Fear of construction failures without human engineers. But most of all, fear that humanity would never come back. And in Sol System, behind their closed borders, humanity built their future without giving the galaxy a second thought. The collapse continued. 1 year after, humanity walked away. The Galactic Council faced a truth that terrified them. They had become completely dependent on a species they had treated as servants. Speaker, Vorthal led another delegation to the edge of Sol System. This time, he brought representatives from every major species. The Valkyrie, who were losing their war. The Korish, whose plague continued to spread. The Centauri, who had lost thousands in construction failures. Even the proud Mekron Empire sent an observer. They stopped at the boundary, where automated defense platforms waited in silent warning. This is Speaker Vorthal of the Galactic Council. He broadcast on all frequencies. We request an audience with human representatives. We have traveled far to speak with you. Please, allow us to enter your space. The response came quickly. Not from a person, but from a recorded message. Ambassador Hyun's voice was calm and professional. The Sol System is closed to non-human traffic. This decision is final. Please depart immediately. But we must speak with you, Vorthal pleaded. The galaxy is in crisis. We need You have 30 seconds to comply before defensive measures are activated. Vorthol felt something he had never experienced before. True helplessness. We are willing to offer anything. Name your terms. We will meet any demand. 20 seconds. The Velkari representative pushed forward. Our people are dying. We're losing worlds every week. Without your help. 10 seconds. Weapon systems activating. The delegation turned to flee, but Vorthol made his ship hold position for just a moment longer. Long enough to activate deep scanners. Long enough to see what lay beyond the defense platforms. What he saw made his crystalline form dim with fear. Soul system had transformed. Massive orbital shipyards surrounded every planet. New vessels, sleek and powerful, moved in formations of hundreds. Space stations the size of moons orbited Mars, Jupiter, Saturn. On Earth itself, cities gleamed with technology that Vorthol didn't recognize. And everywhere, there was activity. Construction, research, expansion. Humanity wasn't just surviving in isolation. They were exploding with growth and innovation. A proximity alarm shrieked. The defense platforms were targeting his ship. Vorthol's pilot jumped them away. Just as warning shots flashed past their hull. The delegation regrouped at a station 3 systems away. No one spoke for a long time. Finally, the Mekran observer broke the silence. Her voice was rough, with something that might have been fear. They don't need us. Of course they need us, Vorthol said, but his voice lacked conviction. They need galactic markets, galactic resources. They have everything they need in Sol System, the Mekran said. I saw the scans. They're building things we don't have names for. They're advancing faster alone than they ever did with us. That's impossible, said the Centauri representative. Is it? The Mekran fixed him with a cold stare. Tell me, how many construction projects have you completed successfully since the humans left? The Centauri said nothing. How many battles have you won? The Mekran turned to the Velkari. The Velkari looked away. How many plagues have you cured? To the Quarish, silence. We didn't just lose our workforce, the Mekran continued. We lost the only species that actually knew how to solve problems, instead of just managing them. On Luna, General Quan watched the departing alien ships on her tactical display. She had been monitoring the delegation since they arrived. Their desperate pleas, their panicked retreat, their frightened scans of Sol System. Good. Let them be afraid. Should we have spoken with them? Asked her second-in-command, Colonel Bora. No, Quan said firmly. They still think this is a negotiation. They still think they can offer us things to make us come back. They don't understand that we're not interested in what they have to offer. What are we interested in? Quan smiled. Being left alone to build our own future. She pulled up intelligence reports on the galactic situation. The Velkari War had consumed 22 worlds now. The Quarish Plague had reached 63 planets with no sign of stopping. The economic collapse had caused 18 governments to fail completely. 3 separate regions were experiencing food shortages that bordered on famine. They're destroying themselves, Bora observed. No, Quan corrected. They built a system dependent on exploiting one species. When that species left, the system collapsed. This is just the consequence of their own choices. Intelligence Officer Yuna entered the command center with urgent news. General, we have a situation. The Mekran Empire has sent a battle fleet towards Sol System. Quan's expression didn't change. How many ships? 473, including 6 dreadnoughts. Yuna paused. They're broadcasting demands for Earth's unconditional surrender. Are they really that stupid? Apparently. Our intelligence suggests they believe we've become weak in isolation. They think we'll be easy to conquer. Quan stood. Contact Admiral Taiyang. Tell her to prepare the home fleet. Let's show the Micron exactly how weak we are. Admiral Tai Yang received the orders aboard the flagship Defiance. Around her, the human home fleet moved into defensive positions. 200 ships, compared to the Mecron's 473. The Mecron fleet entered Sol System broadcasting their demands. Immediate surrender. Transfer of all human technology. Submission to Mecron authority. Tai Yang opened a channel. This is Admiral Tai Yang of the Terran Home Fleet. You have violated our sovereign space. You have 5 minutes to turn around and leave. The Mecron commander appeared on screen. She was a massive being, covered in armor plating that looked like it had grown from her body. You are outnumbered more than 2 to 1, human. Surrender now, and your deaths will be quick. 3 minutes, Tai Yang said calmly. Your arrogance is... Tai Yang cut the connection. All ships, prepare quantum weapons. Target their dreadnoughts first. The Mecron fleet advanced. Their commander was confident. Humans had always relied on clever tactics and superior strategy to win battles. But tactics meant nothing when you were outnumbered this badly. The Mecron fleet opened fire. Human shields absorbed the barrage easily. The Mecron commander frowned. Those shields were stronger than expected. Then the human ships returned fire. What happened next would be analyzed by military historians for generations. The human quantum weapons didn't just destroy ships. They disabled them completely. Engines died. Life support failed. Weapon systems went dark. In the span of 17 minutes, the entire Mecron fleet was floating dead in space, not destroyed, disabled. Tai Yang reopened the channel to the Mecron commander, whose ship was now drifting powerless. I'm sending rescue ships to tow your fleet back to Mecron space. Your crews will not be harmed. When you arrive home, deliver this message to your emperor. She leaned forward, her eyes hard. Sol System is closed. Any further violation of our borders will result in the complete destruction of your fleet, not just disabling it. Stay away from humanity. This is your only warning. The human ships began attaching tow cables to the drifting Mecron vessels. The commander stared at her screen in shock. You defeated us in 17 minutes. Yes, Tai Yang said. We were being polite by giving you 5 minutes to leave. The news of the Mecron fleet's defeat spread across the galaxy within hours. The most powerful military force in 3 sectors had been utterly humiliated. And the humans had done it without destroying a single ship, without killing a single soldier. That was the detail that terrified everyone the most. The humans had shown complete restraint. They could have annihilated the Mecron fleet. Instead, they had simply proven a point dot. We are stronger than you. And we are being merciful by not destroying you. Speaker Vorthal received the reports in his private chamber. He read them 3 times, hoping he had misunderstood something. He hadn't. The humans had developed weapons that could disable entire fleets instantly. They had built a military force that made the Mecron Empire look like children playing with toys. And they had done it all in 1 year of isolation. How? Vorthal asked the empty room. How did they advance so quickly? But he knew the answer. Humanity had always been innovative. They had always been creative. But while working for the Galactic Council, they had been restricted by Council regulations, Council oversight, Council demands. They had been forced to share every advancement, to slow their research to accommodate alien understanding, to waste their genius solving other species' problems. Now, free from those restrictions, they had exploded with innovation. And the galaxy couldn't keep up. Vorthal's assistant entered. Speaker, the Council is demanding another emergency session. The Mecron defeat has everyone panicked. Tell them I'll be there shortly. When he was alone again, Vorthal looked at the star charts on his wall. He remembered a conversation from 300 years ago when humanity first applied to join the council. One of the human delegates had asked a simple question: "Will we be treated as equals?" Vorthal had assured them they would be. He had lied. For 300 years, the council had exploited human talent, human courage, human innovation. They had taken everything humanity offered and given nothing in return except more demands. Now humanity had withdrawn that gift, and the galaxy was learning what it truly meant to lose the humans. It meant losing their future. The fear that gripped the Galactic Council wasn't fear of human weapons or human strength. It was something far worse. It was the fear that humanity would never forgive them, that humanity would never come back, that the galaxy would continue to collapse while humanity thrived beyond their borders, forever beyond their reach. And Speaker Vorthal realized with crystal clarity that this fear was entirely justified. 2 years after humanity walked away from the Galactic Council, the galaxy stood on the edge of complete collapse. And in the council chambers, a new speaker prepared to do something that had never been done before. Speaker Nala was young by council standards. She had been a junior medical researcher on Quarrish Medical Station, working under Dr. Soman before the Exodus. Unlike the older representatives, she understood exactly what had gone wrong. She stood before the assembled council, looking at faces both familiar and strange. Many of the old guard had been removed from power. Vorthal had resigned in shame. Representative Quelm had been recalled by their home world. The species that had grown fat on human labor were now starving, and their people had demanded change. "We have one chance," Nala said, her voice carrying clearly through the chamber. "One final opportunity to save our civilization. And it requires us to do something our predecessors refused to do." "What's that?" asked a representative from the Tharsis Collective. "Tell the truth," Nala said simply. "Admit what we did. Apologize sincerely. And beg for help." Outrage erupted in parts of the chamber. "The council does not beg." "Then the council will die," Nala replied coldly. "Look at the statistics. 30% of member species face governmental collapse within 6 months. Death toll from war, plague, and famine has reached 4 billion. 4 billion lives lost because we were too proud to treat humans as equals." She pulled up a holographic display showing the devastation. "The Velkari expansion war has consumed 41 worlds. The Quarrish plague is on 97 planets. 18 governments have completely failed. Our economy has contracted by 62%. And the Mekron Empire, humiliated by humanity, is now more aggressive than ever." The chamber fell silent. "We did this," Nala continued. "We built a civilization dependent on exploiting one species. We took their genius and treated it as our right. We took their sacrifice and treated it as their duty. We took their patience and mistook it for weakness." She looked around the chamber. "Now we pay the price. And our only hope is that humanity has more mercy than we deserve." An older representative stood. "What do you propose?" "I will send one message to Earth, not a negotiation. Not a list of offers. Just the truth." Nala pulled up a communication screen. "And then we wait to see if they respond." She typed 3 sentences. "We were wrong. We're sorry. We're dying. Help." She sent it to Ambassador Hyon's private channel and waited. On Earth, in the capital city, the message appeared on Hyon's screen during a meeting with the unified parliament. He read it aloud to the assembled representatives. The chamber erupted into argument. Prime Minister Yeho stood. "Why should we help them? They exploited us for 3 centuries. Let them face the consequences. Billions are dying," argued Representative Yunji. "Whatever the council did, the common people don't deserve to die for it." "The common people enabled the council's behavior," Yeho shot back. "They benefited from our exploitation. They're not innocent. Ambassador Hyan raised his hand for silence. Both of you are right. The galaxy deserves to face consequences for what they did. But allowing billions to die makes us no better than they were. So we just forgive them? Yeho demanded. No, Hyan said firmly. We save them, but on our terms. Completely on our terms. He turned to Dr. Soman, who sat in the chamber as an advisor. Can you stop the plague? Yes, Soman said. I've already developed a vaccine. I was waiting to see what we decided. Admiral Taiyang, can we turn the tide of the wars? Within 3 months, Taiyang confirmed. If we commit our full military force. And rebuilding their infrastructure? Engineer Kyung nodded. It'll take years, but it's possible. Hyan looked around the chamber. Then here's my proposal. We help them. But first, they accept a new charter. A complete restructuring of galactic governance. Humanity becomes a full and equal partner with veto power over council decisions. Every species contributes fairly. No one gets exploited ever again. They'll never accept that, Yeo said. Then they die, Hyan replied. And we continue building our future without them. Either way, humanity wins. The Parliament voted. The measure passed narrowly. Hyan composed his response to Nala. We will help. But you have 48 hours to ratify the new charter. Every species must vote. The charter must pass unanimously. If even one species refuses, we walk away forever. He attached the charter document and sent it. On the council station, Nala received the response. She read the charter with growing understanding. It wasn't just about fair treatment for humans. It established rights and protections for all species. It prevented any group from being exploited the way humanity had been. It created true democratic governance instead of the old power structure. It was everything the galaxy should have been from the beginning. We vote in 47 hours, Nala announced to the council. This is not a negotiation. This is humanity's only offer. Accept it, and they will help us. Reject it, and we face extinction alone. The debate that followed was fierce. Some species resented the loss of power. Others feared human dominance. But as the hours ticked down, reality set in. Accept humanity's terms or die. The vote came with 1 hour to spare. Unanimous approval. Nala sent the confirmation to Earth. We accept. Please help us. Admiral Taiyang led the Terran Defense Fleet out of Sol System for the first time in 2 years. Behind her came hundreds of ships, carrying soldiers, doctors, engineers, and supplies. But this time was different. This time, human ships flew under their own flag, not the Council's banner. This time, human commanders gave the orders. This time, humanity was there as partners, not servants. The first engagement happened at the Valkyrie front. The enemy had pushed deep into Valkyrie territory, sensing final victory. Then human ships appeared, and everything changed. Taiyang didn't just win the battle. She taught the Valkyrie commanders how to win. She shared tactics, explained strategies, built coalition forces that could defend themselves. Within 6 weeks, the tide had turned completely. But more importantly, she made it clear that humans were advisors and allies, not saviors. The Valkyrie had to do the hard work themselves. Humanity would help, but this was their war to win. Dr. Soman returned to Korish with a full medical team. The plague that had killed millions was contained within 2 months. But Soman didn't just cure the disease. She trained Korish doctors in advanced epidemiology. She built independent monitoring systems. She made sure they could handle the next plague without human help. Engineer Kyung oversaw the reconstruction of the Centauri ring. But this time, as project director with full authority and fair compensation. She didn't just rebuild the structure. She established the Galactic Engineering Academy, teaching both humans and aliens to work together properly. Everywhere humans went, they followed the same pattern. Help, teach, empower, then step back. No more dependency. No more exploitation. True partnership. 5 years later, Ambassador Hyan stood before the Galactic Council once more. The chamber looked different now. Human representatives sat as full members. The voting structure had changed. The culture had changed. But Hyan had one final message to deliver. 5 years ago, humanity walked away from this chamber. We left because we were not respected. We left because we were not valued. We left because you treated our service as your right instead of our gift. He looked around the chamber. We came back because you asked sincerely, because you admitted your mistakes, because you were willing to change. And the galaxy is better for it. But I want to be clear about one thing. His voice hardened. We walked away once. If you ever forget what you learned, if you ever return to the old ways of exploitation and disrespect, we will walk away again. Silence filled the chamber. And next time, Hyan continued, we won't come back. Not because we're cruel, but because some lessons need to be permanent. Speaker Nala stood. Ambassador Hyan, on behalf of the Council, I give you my word. We will never forget. The changes we've made are not temporary measures. They are the foundation of a new galactic civilization. I hope that's true, Hyan said, because humanity has discovered something wonderful in the last 7 years. We discovered that we don't need the galaxy to thrive. We can build, create, and prosper entirely on our own. We choose to be part of galactic society, not because we need it, but because we believe it can be better than it was. He looked directly at Nala. Don't make us regret that choice. We won't, Nala promised. The session ended. As Hyan left the chamber, Admiral Taiyang and Dr. Soman joined him. Do you think they've really learned? Soman asked. Some have, Hyan replied. Others will need more time. But the structures are in place now. The rules are clear. If they violate them, we leave. It's that simple. And if they do violate them? Taiyang asked. Hyan smiled slightly. Then we go home. We've proven we can thrive without them. That knowledge gives us power. The power to demand respect. The power to walk away. The power to say no. They walked toward their ship. Behind them, the council continued its session, making decisions together, voting as equals, building something better. But everyone in that chamber remembered what had happened when they took humanity for granted. They remembered the wars, the plagues, the collapse. They remembered the fear of watching humanity walk away. And they remembered the lesson that had cost 4 billion lives to learn. Those who provide essential services hold more power than anyone realizes. And that power is most effectively used not through threats or violence, but through the simple willingness to withdraw consent. Humanity had walked away from the negotiation table. The galaxy had watched in fear. And when humanity returned, it was as equals, not servants. The galaxy was better for it. But the galaxy would never forget the price of learning that lesson. As Hyan's ship left the station, he looked back at the structure that housed the council. It looked the same from the outside. But inside, everything had changed. Do you regret walking away? Myray asked him. No, Hyan said firmly. It was the best decision we ever made. Because we proved something essential. We proved we could survive without them. And once you prove that, you never have to accept exploitation again. We changed the galaxy, Myray observed. No, Hyan corrected. We changed ourselves. We remembered our own worth. The galaxy just had to adapt to that reality. The ship jumped toward Earth, toward home, toward the future humanity had built for itself, and across the galaxy. Species that had once taken humanity for granted now worked alongside them as true partners. Not because they had to, but because they had finally learned to appreciate the gift they'd been given. The gift of human cooperation, offered freely, accepted gratefully, and never again taken for granted. The galaxy had learned. The hard way. The only way that mattered. And humanity stood ready, always, to walk away again if necessary. Because that was the secret of true partnership. Both sides had to want it. Both sides had to value it. Both sides had to know they could survive without it. Only then could they build something worth having together. The galaxy had watched in fear as humanity walked away from the negotiation table. Now they watched with respect as humanity walked beside them as equals, and that made all the difference.